Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could be here because in today's episode, we're talking about how to auto-tune a Smokin' smoker. What is auto-tuning? Should you do it? How to do it? In last week's episode, we put 150 pounds of sausage in a prototype smoker and nearly burnt the joint down. And one of the reasons that it didn't go according to plan is because the PI&D settings, the algorithm that controls the temperature on that smoker, wasn't set appropriately. And so today we are going to correct that mistake as we get ready to cook 150 pounds of pork shoulder in that prototype smoker. Hopefully this time we don't burn them up. All right, so what is AutoTune? Well, AutoTune is a feature that you could find on all digital smokers from Smokin', and I believe most PID controllers have an auto-tune function. A PID controller is a controller that uses an algorithm to help you maintain your parameters with a lot more stability. So instead of having huge fluctuations in temperature, the algorithm kind of dials your system in to where you are very, very close to whatever you set, generally within a degree or two. The P stands for proportional, the I stands for integral, and the D stands for derivative. And to highly oversimplify what it is and what it does, the P kind of takes into consideration the present temperature on your smoker. The I takes into consideration the past temperature of your smoker, and then the D takes into consideration the future temperature or your target temperature for your smoker. And all three of those values are constantly working together so that you can get to your target temperature without overshooting it and maintain that target temperature with a certain sense of stability. The AutoTune feature is a way to teach your smoker what those values should be. So when you enable the AutoTune option on your smoker, you're in essence putting your smoker in learning mode, and during that time it's going to be trying to calculate what's the best PI&D values for your smoker, for the size of your smoker, for the load that you have in it. So there you go. That's what basically auto-tuning does. Should you auto-tune your smoker? Well, the easy answer is probably not. Most smokers, or at least the ones from Smokin', come with the PI&D already set to the appropriate value based off of the size of the smoker. But under rare circumstances, if you notice that perhaps you are not keeping an accurate temperature, or if your actual temperature is a lot higher than your set temperature, which shouldn't happen, that's what happened to us last time, then maybe you would want to consider doing an auto-tune. At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to do an auto-tune, but before you do an auto-tune, I would highly suggest you write down the original factory settings, you know, what the PI&D values were from the factory, so that in the event you do an auto-tune and you don't like the results, you can always just revert back to factory settings by manually inputting it the way it came from the factory. In the description box below, I'll try to put the PI&D values that come from the factory for the Smokin' smokers in the event that you need a reference point. And now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. How do you auto-tune your smoker? Let me show you.
All right, first thing we got to do is get some rocks. We need to simulate a load inside of our smoker. Your smoker is going to heat up differently when it's empty versus when it has food in it. And if we simulate a load, it's going to give us a more accurate PI&D setting. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to put some rocks in there, and I'm going to space it out, kind of like I'm doing brisket or pulled pork. Put another rack here on the top. I am going to leave that top section open because that's what I would normally do. And I've got about 130, 150 pounds worth of rocks inside this smoker, and that's about perfect. What I want to do is just try to simulate a full load, and that looks good to me. All right, so now that we have our rocks in there, let's take a look at the controller, and we're going to turn it on. And notice we have a blinking blue light right there where the Wi-Fi is. That just means I haven't set it up yet. So what we're going to do here at the beginning is I'm going to show you how to auto-tune using the actual controller. We're going to long press the set button and get into the control setting menu. So there's control setting. We're going to short press the set button again, and that'll get us into that particular menu. And at this point, we just need to scroll down and you'll see the PI&D options. And so this is what the P was originally. It was 60. The I was set to 800, and the D was set to 150. Those settings did not give me good temperature control, and primarily because we're playing with a prototype. And so to automatically change those settings, we need to hit the down button a couple more times to where we get to the option Auto Tune. It's set to off, and so when we click the set button, we can now change that. When we hit the up button, it turns to on. And there we go. The auto tune is now on. When we get out of that menu back to the home screen, so we'll go back a couple times, you'll see that the screen reads that it is in auto tune mode. The next thing we need to do is set the temperature to a typical temperature that you would cook at. So if we're going to do brisket, if we're going to do pulled pork, something like that, I'm going to normally cook at about 225. That would be on the hot end for most of my cooks. So we're going to adjust the temperature to 225 Fahrenheit, and there we go. All right, so we're going to hit set to lock it in. Hit the back button to go ahead and get out of that screen. And now we are in business. We've got a message on the home screen that says auto tuning. That's exactly what you want to see at this point. Let's close the smoker down. And then in my particular case, because it is a convection smoker, I am going to go ahead and turn the convection system on. And normally I like to run it at about 50%. So what I'm doing here is auto tuning based off of how I typically would cook. And during this process, the system's going to automatically adjust the P, I, and D settings. It took about 2 hours for it to happen, and this is what it looks like when it's finished. So notice the auto-tuning message is gone. That's no longer there. Let's look at the menu once more. Long press the set button, short press the set button under control setting, and then we're going to scroll down to the P. It's now 26, and the I is now 442. Huge difference there. And the D is now 110. And so now we're going to have more accurate temperature control based off of the size of the unit with a full load. And so I think we're going to have much better results as we go into round number 2 with about 150 pounds of pork shoulder, which we'll do next week. Now let me show you how to auto-tune your system using the Smokin' It app. Okay, start by clicking on the app and it should open up to this screen. We're going to click the smoker that the app is connected to. And in the top right-hand corner, you got 3 dots. That's the menu option. Go ahead and click that and select Control Setting. This is everything under that setting, and as you can see, everything is adjustable. I wouldn't necessarily recommend changing the P, I, and D settings manually unless you specifically know what those settings should be. But if you want to do that, just press, like in this case, the P option, and the proportional setting will open up. You can change it, and it's just as easy as that. We are going to go to the Auto Tune option, so we click that and then change that to on. Click the check mark to lock it in, and we've officially engaged the auto tune setting. So right now the system should give us a reading that the auto tune is on, and this is exactly what it looks like if we look at the control panel on the smoker. Since we've already auto tuned our system, I am going to turn it off, but that's how you activate it from the app on your phone.
All right, guys, we are auto tuned up, and the difference between those two values was pretty significant. So I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic going into round number 2 with about 150 pounds of pork shoulder. I'm feeling that the temperature is going to be a lot more stable, and that's an issue we won't have to worry about. So be sure to stick around. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's episode. It's going to be a whole lot of pork shoulder. Does it cook faster? Does it cook slower? In a convection smoker, we'll find out. If you got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Thanks a lot for being here. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.